as people in BMS say and people in DCS say, it's hard to find an actual group, a realistic enough group that you want to fly with consistently on a normal basis.
Yes, that is the biggest challenge. We like to fly in a very specific way. We like to have serious fun. We like to, train. We like to brief seriously, but then outside of that, it's more fun in games and joking around and stuff. Like we have a lighthearted culture aside from that. And what we find often with DCS is like on some of the pub servers, at least, it's more of an air-quick experience. So that's not our style. So to find like a UOAF style gameplay, we essentially created our own community. And again, that's also open to everyone. So feel free to, if you're listening to this, feel free to drop in. There's no barrier of entry really. You just got to be able to like take off and fly in formation, and that's basically it. We're open to anyone.
Welcome. You're listening to the Simulated Airspace, where we talk about flight sims and everything aviation. You may know our guests because you may have watched their videos that taught you BMS back in the day. Or maybe you've seen a couple crazy missions in BMS, which are most likely clips from UOAF, which is the United Operations Air Force, a group that plays on Saturdays with about 30 pilots or more every week, putting BMS and even DCS players to the test to work as a team. They both have been around for a while, so it'll be great to have a discussion about the UOAF and the BMS community as a whole. I am Prime, or also known as Aviation Plus on YouTube, accompanied as always by Fiscus, and we're very excited about this discussion. We have Krause as well, who you've probably seen most of his videos learning Falcon BMS. Also, we have Stevie, who makes the tutorial videos in Falcon BMS. So for me, I'm Prime. I do Falcon BMS videos of all experience types on YouTube, and I'm going to go ahead and introduce our guest here. So Fiscus, go ahead and introduce.
Hi everyone, I'm Fiscus. Thanks for joining us on another episode. I have a channel called Fiscus Fighties where I have a bunch of tutorials for BMS as well as some gameplay, a reconstitution, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Looking forward to the interview.
Sweet. Let's go ahead and get to know some of our guests. So Krause, kind of give us something about your personal background. A couple minutes here, who you are, how'd you get started in BMS?
Cool. Hey, yeah, so I'm Krause. I'm the leader of UOAF. Been in the Sims for about 20 years. Started off in, the really old school ones, Falcon 3, Falcon 4, Jane's games, etc. Have a background in like academia, went to school to be a history major, then transitioned into like military simulations. I used my like game modding background to get a portfolio, use it as a portfolio to get into military simulations. Did that for about 7 years and then transitioned into AAA video game development where I'm a senior leader. And I'm in a tech startup right now as a executive in that team. I'm responsible for the overall group leadership, but the way that I lead is pretty decentralized, so we're all pretty much equals. And I'm there if there's like a tie that needs to be broken or if a hard call needs to be made, and I also make sure that there's an overall structure to the thing. Been playing BMS, DCS as well as the main focus for the past 13, 14 years, and other milsim games. So yeah, I'm a gamer, I'm a nerd, D&D player. Nice to meet you guys. Happy to dig into whatever you want.
So Stevie, do the same thing. Give us a personal background about yourself. A couple minutes. Who are you? How'd you get started in BMS?
Okay. Yeah. My name's Stevie. Living in Vienna. I'm a musician. My main living I make by writing books, and I've been playing flight sims since forever, and always loved it, and played the original Falcon. It was janky. Oh my god. Yeah. And then I almost quit playing because you have to be an adult and work and be responsible and shit. So, but then COVID hit and I was bored, and I realized, hey, this laptop I'm having, it's called a gaming laptop. All right, what can I have here? And then I did into DCS actually because I had the old A10 CD somewhere. So I started playing DCS a bit, and then I remembered, oh my god, there was Falcon, there was BMS, and then I went into like searching what the state of BMS was. It was 4.3 434, I think, this time. I was blown away, and yeah, hooked immediately, and found the Falcon launch, and then found the UOAF because of their awesome big scale events. I was scared at the beginning because language barrier and all those experienced dudes flying. I know barely the words, and oh yeah. But I tried.
Sorry,
And,
Steve, real
yes,
quick, because
go
this
on.
is I think useful. Were you scared or were you intimidated? And I'm asking because
Oh,
there's a lot of people who are intimidated because they think they will not match up, and intimidating in flying multiplayer. I mean, that's and I would like to ask if that was what you were feeling at that point. That might
yeah,
mirror some of the stuff some viewers might be feeling.
yeah, so it was a mixture. It was being afraid of not being competent enough, uh, being afraid of making a fool of myself, and stuff like that. So just on, and also maybe being shy, talking to foreign guys or like guys I don't know over the internet. It was just a bit yeah, and but then I tried, and some nice guys took me. The first flight, it was Oak Design. You might know him from the forums, and he had a beginner flight. And basically, we connected to a server, made IVC work, and then we took off and flew a circuit around Gunsan. Two of us survived.
Oh goodness.
two crashed. I did it, and it was funny because like I was sitting there in the chat, and I was thinking to myself, all right, Stevie, you practice for this. Now it has to count. We were just doing a single circuit around Gunsan, but this was it, and then I started playing multiplayer, and it was a bit. It's wild at the beginning because of all that stuff you don't know, and you have to learn, but you learn so much, and it's such an experience. And sitting on the taxiway waiting, and you see all these other jets taxiing past you, and in each and every one of these, there's another player sitting. It's so that was my beginning.
Yeah, so I kind of remember my first time getting into BMS or multiplayer in general. There was you get that you go through these different stages of being afraid of what to say, which kind of limits you of actually getting in the first place. But as you said, Oak Design had a specific training mission and training session for just a couple of you, because at the UOAF they have 30 plus pilots in this package, and that's probably not the first mission you should probably go to in your first time. But as you said, to have a certain training type of focus for missions, and get that comfortability with other people, because as you said, it's like a different language of learning how to fly, what to do, what to expect, what different brevity means, and all that type of stuff. So yeah, with all that training stuff, it's very important to be able to get into the game with the mindset of learning first rather than getting thrown into the water type of stuff, because that's usually what happens.
I'm inclined to disagree here. So for Oak, he basically just did a tech session with us. So I think it's and with all the training we had, I never felt ready. So you have to be thrown into it with a helping hand, but you can't get, in my opinion, over that that lack of SA that you have at the beginning, because you don't have the SA in the beginning. I don't think that you can come over this with just training. So training is for, in my opinion, is to get comfortable a bit, to get a bit proficiency, but then you have to jump into the water. If it only do the training missions and you feel happy there, you need the
Like a milestone, yeah.
Then you need the test of the stressful situation and the SA overwhelm to still do it. And afterwards, so for me, it was always I did the mission, and then I had like probably 5 to 6 like topics to practice and learn for the next time. So, oh my God, I fumbled, I don't know, the Mavericks there. I'll look into the Mavericks again.
Yep.
So that's I don't think that you can. I think it's for my personal opinion. It's important to have a welcoming, a open, and a friendly environment, and then you have to keep the people in, because like we have this funny old video of Krause that we like forward to each and every one of our beginners, which is called "Get Your Ass to Fly."
Yep. Perfect.
That's the gist of it. So you have to jump into the water. There's a lot of people around you, so you're not gonna drown. And if you drown, it's just a computer game.
Yeah.
But you're not gonna drown, and you're gonna learn so much more than this.
Yeah, I've done it with people because there's certain levels of it. You could throw them into like a package with a C, a D to escort, GCI, all that type of stuff, and they're going to drown, because they're just going to be overwhelmed. And for some people, it might turn them off to play ever again, depending on their personality. So sometimes, depend on, we all have taught someone at some point in our lives. You have to teach to them the way they want to receive it. So if you teach them in a wrong direction or a wrong way, they might not receive it as efficient as someone else who learns it that specific way. So it's always good to be able to, at least the first couple of missions in Falcon BMS, get used to how to talk to your wingman, how to talk to your flight lead, what your flight lead is telling you, and then even more basic, how to take off, how to land, how to understand the aircraft first before you start throwing into tactics, throwing into people talking to you, throwing into brevity terms and all that type of stuff, because it's a building block type of thing. So you can throw them into a mission, which the best thing you get out of that is for them to understand what they don't know about. So there's a known unknowns, and then there's unknown unknowns. So it's something you don't know about, and you don't know it at all. So if you throw someone into the fire or into the water, they learn those unknowns very, very fast. So they could actually understand what they need to go out and seek, and what they need to learn about, and what they need to do in certain things. But before then, they're just flying in the virtual skies, not knowing about what they don't know. And to be able to do that really quickly is to throw them into the water with them doing a mission. But it's always good to do building blocks to kind of not discourage them from not being able to do something really quickly, because that could be discouraging if you get into a mission with 30 plus pilots and you do something wrong. So I guess we can transition into what training is for you, and how and what made you want to teach people how to use Falcon BMS all those years ago, which people are still watching those videos.
Yeah, so first of all, sorry about that. I know the videos are pretty crappy, but for today's standards, when they first came out, they were okay, but like there's much better tutorials now. I think the thing that inspired me back then was there wasn't really anything out there that was accessible, right? So you had like virtual fighter squadrons, but you had to join to sort of learn the black arts, and that was very formal, right? You had to go through induction, you had to be tested and all that good stuff, and that wasn't really something that I was interested in. So I learned from some friends, and I learned shortcuts to learn how to fly, and then I figured, okay, I might as well record them for others, right? So all I did was just basically turn on fraps and talk through it. Very low production quality. There's a lot of technical errors as well, like from a combat aviation point of view. In those original tutorials, the landings that I was teaching people to do were absolutely terrible, massive AOA sync and all that stuff. But it did teach a lot of people how to get the basics together so that you could get your ass to fly, right? And that was always the goal, was like, how can we get people onboarded quickly, so that they can enjoy the sim? And I think we achieved that.
Yes, with
Damn,
we all have.
fraps. Sorry.
I know fraps. Yeah, fraps is.
I was
did
gonna
the same
say
thing.
fraps is something that takes me back, man.
Oh yeah, that was a while ago.
OG.
With training. So all of us have made a tutorial at least once in our channel careers. So if you push out a video, depending on, there's always levels of accuracy of it. So if you just push out a stupid, inaccurate video, then it's not going to really give any relevancy to the community. But to the most point, people will try to kick out something that's decent. And if there's no other video talking about that subject, you are the subject matter expert in that subject, unless someone else makes a video that is either more accurate than you or more relevant than yours, which doesn't usually happen
Yeah,
because
bingo.
someone already makes it, and it's like, well, you got to wait a little while unless you just want to completely just dog their video. But if you're the first person to do it, you are the most accurate person on YouTube. So that's when it comes to tutorials. And BMS does not have as many tutorials as probably everyone would like. Usually DCS kind of rules that in that sense when it comes to tutorials for them. Also, in the actual DCS game or simulator, someone might trigger off of that, that in the tutorials and the training, it actually points exactly what you need to click, when you need to click it, and that's kind of a good thing that DCS has. But BMS is mostly on the manual and watching videos and kind of understanding how the cockpit layout is to understand what you need to click and when you need to click it.
Yeah, I mean that is a good call out. I think like it is like a continuum of training quality, right? So you start with like the scrappiest thing, and then when the next people, I was blown away by the quality of the tutorials that were coming out from others who were inspired by my initial crappy, like sort of scrappy take. I was honored, but also I was like, oh, thank God I can stop being the source.
Yeah, I know, right?
Because
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, I just it felt weird to be put on a pedestal. It still feels a little weird. So
Yeah, you're
the
still
more I
there.
can knock myself down, the better.
Yep, you're still there. I think I don't know. Um, Stevie, I, and Fiscus have kind of taken over that. We're making videos very often for tutorials and missions
Yeah,
and
they're
like.
great.
So yeah.
Yeah, for me it was I think the first or second mission I flew with the big event I flew with the UOAF, and it was like, oh my God, it's Krause.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Oh
I'm
no.
flying.
Yeah.
I'm flying with the YouTube hero here. Oh my God, I'm gonna learn so much. I mean, I did learn so much, but I
Just the
was
guy,
like,
man.
yeah, yeah. But I was still, I knew you from the YouTube. That's some star potential here.
Oh yeah.
But
Love it.
on that, I would like to get your perspective, you guys, all of you, perspective on something. Don't when you fly with other people who are maybe like flying with you for the first time, and then they say, "Oh, I'm a big fan of you. I learned everything from you and stuff like that." Don't you feel like you're kind of put on the spot and really terrified of like disappointing them from some mistake, because we all do mistakes.
Not at
I
all.
know I
No,
feel
no.
that way a little bit.
Not at all, because this is like a deep rooted childhood thing, right? Like I've always been like the outsider guy. So I never really had this sense of like, okay, I need to perform or be, perfect or whatever. And I've always been sort of like the weird nerd kid who is like on the edge of the group, so it's fine. And I just, I don't mind like making an ass of myself either, right? Like Stevie can probably tell you like I fuck up all the time, right? I'm not the best pilot. There is no perfect pilot. It's a learning journey that takes you like forever to get good at everything, and you'll never be good at everything. So, which is cool, right? It makes you okay with that, and then you just roll with it.
Yeah, same for me. I make mistakes the whole time. I usually laugh a lot, because yeah, being angry about it doesn't make any difference. And then we'll try to find out what to learn about it. And sometimes, so if I'm flying with newer guys and I make a mistake, basically it's great because they see first everybody makes mistakes. It's not a problem to make a mistake. Second, they might learn from my mistake, and third, they learn, hey, mistakes are there inevitably. What do we do about it? How can I improve from that mistake? So I don't care about mistakes.
Yeah, and like you said, the debriefing portion is what really matters. So since you're so
Yes.
experienced and you make a mistake, you know exactly what you did wrong, especially during TAC view. So you could speak for yourself to say, I should have did this. I don't know why I did this. I must have not seen it on the RWR or the FCR or something happened. Like you could literally explain why it happened. For other people who are new, they might not be able to explain why that happened, which is their experience level is not as high as ours. So if we make a mistake, we can totally debrief ourselves and tell us what happened. Tell our own self what happened wrong.
Yeah, it also takes like I think it's a key point for new guys who get like scared. It takes roughly, I would say, 10 years to get like really good SA. I think you have basic SA within like 2 or 3 years. But like generally when you're new, you have zero SA, right? You need to like recreate the world in your head that's outside of your jet. And that takes a lot of reps. And it's why I think like the best way to learn is just to get your ass out there and fly. But it's really hard to like build that mental picture. Don't even pretend to. And then even when you're like really experienced, like I have a lot of experience now, there's still times where I'm like, I have no idea what's going on right now, so I'm going cold.
Exactly. And speaking of all this training stuff we're talking about, I heard Stevie, you had some certain days where you do trainings at the UAF for new people.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. So besides our main event, which is on Saturday, we started some training sessions on the Mondays, mainly because I really wanted to do some ACM, and ACM is something you can't practice on your own. It's just impossible. So I just went out there and say, hey guys, it's Monday, let's practice ACM. And if you build it, they will come. And so I did like make a practice event each and every Monday for the last, I don't know, 4 years. Time flies when having fun. And so it's now it's an event each and every week, and we practice. Most of the time we try to like follow the general idea of the current events we're flying. So right now we started flying in our UOAF 80s campaign, and so we're practicing 80s stuff, how to do ACM with no SA, how to find targets without a TGP, and how to not get lost without link 16 and stuff like that. And we just rotate. Sometimes it's a dogfight module for ACM. Sometimes we have like handcrafted missions, and it's a very low entry, low threshold learning experience. And we really it's really beginner friendly. So we actually advertise it to be for beginners. And I mean, this is for all of our events. So if you can take off and land, stay somewhere in vicinity of your lead, have a working microphone, know some English, and you're just a normal, kind human being, you can fly with us. And this is for the Mondays, it's even easier because we can do all the troubleshooting and setting up IVC for the first time, and you know how to just to get it running. On a Saturday with 30 people, we can't do that. There's just no time for. We would love to, but there's just no time to hand guide like 3 noobs to find the correct capturing device. We can't do that. On Monday we can, and we do. And so the Monday now is kind of our recruiting tool. So people come, practice, they get the gist of multiplayer flying, they get the first idea of SA overwhelm, they overcome it, and then they realize, hey, I did this mission, I can do a Saturday mission easily. And that's it. I mean, Saturday is another big thing, and much more, and briefings and plans and stuff like that. But that's the whole idea.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, thanks for creating those training missions. 'Cause I did some at the Falcon Lounge, but I just can't do it as much as you do. But I do appreciate that, and we'll talk about how to join UAF and stuff, and how to get into those sessions later on. But Stevie does have to go. We'll probably have him on the show another time. But thanks for your insight and your videos. Keep it up, and see you next time.
Thanks, Stevie.
Yeah, thanks for coming along, Stevie, man. It was great.
Thanks
Cheers,
for
dude.
having me. Sorry I'm a bit short on time today. I really love it. Thanks for having me.
No worries.
ciao.
No worries. Thank you.
Alrighty then. So, Krause, I guess we'll continue with the trainings type of stuff. Do you
Let's
go to the trainings that Stevie has, or you do mostly in the Saturday stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I wish I did, but work is pretty intense.
Yeah.
So I don't really have time on weekdays to fly.
Yeah.
But they're a well-known commodity in the community, and they're really amazing. We get tons of positive feedback, and they are a funnel, or as you'd say, a funnel to the Saturday events and the Friday events. So generally, the way it works is like guys will come to the Monday events, which are the lowest barrier of entry, super casual, zero expectation of any skill whatsoever. They show up there, they learn the basics through team play with the other guys. Then they'll generally show up to the Friday night events, which are another very low barrier of entry, very low expectations. You could do live troubleshooting, etc. Very casual. We're still doing realistic missions, and we're still briefing realistically and all that stuff, but there's a more of an acceptance that like you could have like a high, ALR basically. And those guys, once they feel comfortable there, they generally go to the Saturday events. But the thing is like you don't need to follow that progression, right? The way our community works is you could join the Saturday events from day one if you feel comfortable.
Yeah, if you
But that's
want, if
generally
you
how the
want.
flow works.
And there are videos of, I think Stevie has a couple like 3-hour videos of the entire session. So if you want to see what it's like, how the briefings go, how the mission goes, and how the debriefing goes, there's definitely some videos out there of the UAF missions. I think you're at number 725 as of yesterday or something.
Oh yeah, yeah. So yesterday was 725. We've been going for about 15 years, and we do have breaks. Like during Christmas and stuff, we'll do a break. But we've been doing a Saturday event for the past 15 years, more or less. So incredible longevity for a gaming community. Week over week, same thing every Saturday, and then also on Sundays we do DCS. Those events tend to be a little smaller, but they're still pretty consistent, and that part of our community is actually growing right now as well and becoming even more consistent.
That's good.
So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, good to have some DCS in there too, because I'm trying to get in DCS too. But as people in BMS say and people in DCS say, it's hard to find an actual group, a realistic enough group that you want to fly with consistently on a normal basis.
Yes, that is the biggest challenge. We like to fly in a very specific way. We like to have serious fun. We like to, train. We like to brief seriously, but then outside of that, it's more fun and games and joking around and stuff. Like we have a lighthearted culture aside from that. And what we find often with DCS is like on some of the pub servers, at least, more of an air quick experience. So that's not our style. So to find like a UOAF style gameplay, we essentially created our own community. And again, that's also open to everyone. So feel free to, if you're listening to this, feel free to drop in. There's no barrier of entry really. You just got to be able to like take off and fly in formation, and that's basically it. We're open to anyone.
Yep, on Discord, UOAF, and we have it in the description below. So go ahead and join them in the Discord, and we'll reach out to you.
All right. So, Krause, can you tell us how UOAF got started initially?
Oh man, that's quite a journey. So if you go back into ancient history, we started off as we essentially spawned from an ARMA community that originated with Tactical Gamer. The founding members of Tactical Gamer then formed United Operations, which was another ARMA community. And then from there was a subdivision within United Operations that was flying originally Falcon 4 Allied Force, but then also DCS, and then eventually BMS. The current UOAF is that. It's the final form of that. We no longer officially do ARMA events, but we do support a variety of games, including like Steel Beast and stuff. We occasionally play ARMA. But that is the long and the short of it. So the lineage is from that, and now we're a fully standalone community that is primarily sim focused. Yeah, so that's the short answer. You can dig into any of that if you like, but that's my short answer to that.
Let's see. Where I assume you have guys from all over the world, or there's like a majority of people from like a region of the world.
Yeah, so I mean, if you talk about our team, or our community, it's mostly simmers, right? And but I would say that in our community, we also have a heavy indexing on technical people and developers. We have people from other squadrons that come and attend our events, those that are transitioning into flight sims from other interests, and then some who are sticking around in our community from past communities, such as UO, who are just there for social aspects. And finally, we have some members that are current or former military. And I would say that regarding location and all that stuff, global membership, mostly European and from the Americas. But we have representation from everywhere, right? One of our the roster members is from South Africa. We have folks from Australia and New Zealand. We occasionally have someone from Vietnam fly with us as well. So it's pretty global audience, and we pride ourselves on that. And then a lot of us have become friends and coworkers outside of the community. Actually, some of us got jobs through each other, and we occasionally go on like hiking and mountain biking trips, go to drink beers and go to military museums, that sort of thing. And we've been doing meetups every year as well. So we have another one coming up soon. So it's a bit of a friend group as well as a open community, but we try not to let that, put boundaries on anything that we do. So yeah, we're open.
That's pretty cool. Meeting up and stuff is something I know not every group does. So you guys, you mentioned before the structure is kind of like not very rigid, but would you like to elaborate on that, how the group is structured?
Sure. So you're talking about how the actual the membership is, or you mean is that what you're referring to, like how we organize ourselves?
No, like for example, there's like groups I know that have like they're separated into different squadrons within the wing, so to
I
speak,
understand.
and that stuff. And then there's the training wing or
Yeah.
squadron, that sort of thing. That's what I'm trying to ask.
Okay, got it. So that makes total sense. So I think I'll start with like our values, and then I'll answer that question that you just asked. I think it'll be informed by our values. So the first thing is like we focus on what we call like serious fun, right? So that means that we're having a lot of fun, and we're having lighthearted exchanges, memeing and stuff like that outside of the events. There's no role playing like a military persona at UOAF per se, right? So um, we're not, there's no judgment of people's skills. We're very hardcore during the actual mission. Like we play seriously, we train seriously, we plan for realistic tactical scenarios and stuff like that. But we try to avoid things like really time consuming checklists or ramp operations just for the sake of realism. We always start on taxi, for example. We're focusing on the gameplay. And this transitions into like your question. I'll start answering it now. So we're self-organized as a community, right? So we don't have a structure with ranks or officers. Like I am the leader, but I am not. I don't decide anything, right? So we have the way it works is like we have a roster. The roster are people that have been unanimously voted in. Those people are volunteers that are community leaders that are essentially equal with me. They frag the missions, they run the events, they have unlimited access to the infrastructure that we have set up. There's no gatekeeping in that regard, so they can just bring up the server anytime. They can launch their own servers, they can make their own missions, etc. And then every like week we have a call to arms, which is basically who's fragging the mission for Saturday. Someone signs up for that, and then the frag is done. That person also asks someone to be a moderator who will actually run the event and facilitate it. And then someone volunteers to be a package commander. So that's pretty much how we roll every week, and it's been like that for like 15 years, right? And what I will say is that when it comes to the group culture and dynamics and stuff, right? We have a lot of like former fighter pilots who fly with us. Um, they are treated along with newcomers equally, right? So we don't have any special treatments. And we pride ourselves on having a really realistic gameplay experience without all the like cruft that can often slow down events. So we like to do realistic, as I said, realistic action, but we try to avoid things like, oh, this tack turn has to be exactly perfect, or it's a fail. We don't really care about stuff like that. So it's sort of a unique thing because often you either go for VFW that's very focused on like deep simulation, which no judgment there. That's cool. Do it if you like it. But here it's more like we try to focus on that for the actual kinetic part of the gameplay, and we find that that's what guys really like, and the why they keep coming back. Um, Last thing I'll say is like, as I said, we have like a Saturday event, we have the Sunday DCS events, Monday training, and Friday night flights, as I said. And the way that the events work is like you have a short package brief, you have your flight briefs, you have a short package-wide debrief, and then a long unofficial debrief, which is like, pretty long. So the event itself will be like 3 or 4 hours, and then we have like 2 hours in TAC view, which is like sort of optional. It's sort of like bonus hours for guys that are still around. Yeah, so we can dig into that more if you like. I will say that like last thing I'll say, and then I'll stop my little TED talk is as you talked about how we're organized and stuff is like we don't have like activity requirements at UOAF, so like you don't have to you don't have to play or be participating in the roster any amount whatsoever. So like if you go inactive and then you come back, everyone's cool with it. If someone has like an emergency or a personal situation, we all like team up and try to help that person. There's been people that have had like medical issues and we've like tried to help them and stuff. And then the last thing I would say is like we bias very heavily for like egalitarian flat structure, which I think I covered already, but something that really shines through.
Yeah, you said a lot of you mentioned that there's a lot of people all over the world. So how do you mitigate that with time? So like what time is the UAF missions on Saturdays? And how would we be able to translate that to other people who might not know what Zulu is?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So we have like 15 years of data that shows that the best time to have an event, and this is we have like tons of metrics that we don't publish, but we have like a whole metrics dashboard, sort of like a tech company. um, is at this time, which is the current time is 2000 or is 1800 Zulu. So 1800 Zulu is, and the reason why we use Zulu is because Zulu is military timekeeping, but it's also like a time that you can reference anywhere independent of the world. So if you like go into Google right now and type 1800 Zulu to Central European time, you'll get your local time if you happen to live in Central Europe. Um, and that time we find is good because it's in the morning for North America, so it's not so early that people are unwilling to fly, and it's in the evening in Europe, but not so late that it's like impossible for people to enjoy. And the events end around 11 p.m. for people in Europe, which is pretty late, but it's not so late that people will churn out. The only community that's sort of like impacted and has to fly weird hours are the people in like Australia and New Zealand. So that's pretty extreme for them. They have to wake up really early, but they still do it. And it's not so early that it's like crazy, but they're still up at like, they have to wake up like 5 o'clock in the morning to fly with us. So yeah, that's why we use Zulu time. And that's how we keep the international effect. But there are trade-offs. There's annoying effect from daylight savings time, right? Because European and North American daylight savings time are not synchronized, so we actually have to move the events like an hour later or an hour earlier when that happens. Otherwise, people get messed up.
And it's like they don't do this, they don't do the adjustment the same week. It's like a week after or 2 weeks after. So it's like
Yeah, it's
misaligned.
like 2 weeks. Yeah, and then there's also some countries now that are like skipping daylight savings time, so it's a bit of a chaos.
Yep, it is.
But it's okay. Like we're flexible with it. We keep it under control.
And plus, in the Discord, you have the invites, and on the invite it tells you the time it is for your local area. So there's also that a lessening of the confusion because it'll tell you what your local time is for the start of the mission.
That's true. Yeah, that's a nice little feature that they added into Discord like a year ago or so. It's quite nice.
So you mentioned, so obviously BMS, you guys run events for that. You mentioned DCS. What other games do you guys run events for?
Well, that's an interesting question. So we we officially, right? So like officially we run DCS and BMS events. Those are the official events that we run. But then we have run Steel Beast events. We run Steel Beast campaigns. We run like the guys will meet up and play Ready or Not. There's Flavor of the Week that people organize into sessions. Those are generally open to everyone the same way our main events are. They're just, when we say official, it means that we really try to put energy against it, right? It's extremely labor intensive to run these events, right? It probably takes like 15 hours of prep to get every event good to go. You have to write a briefing, you have to make the actual frag. Like the frag doesn't take that long. It probably takes like 2 or 3 hours, but then you have to write the briefing, which can take another 3 hours or whatever. You have to post the event, cross-posted to other communities. So these are the ones that we try to keep officially, quote unquote, supported, meaning like we try to make them happen every week. The other ones are just like more or less pickup games. They can be structured though, right? So we've run Steel Beast campaigns where there was like 10 missions in a series that we did, but they're not done every week. And then we also, some guys will also play like more casual games. Like we'll play Unreal Tournament, before the BMS event or War Thunder or whatever. Oh, and I guess one major thing I missed is like we are starting to fly IL2 pretty much consistently every week as well. So it's not quite officially supported, but it's something that is growing with popularity inside of our roster team.
Personal curiosity, but did you ever consider VTOL VR? because I love
Yeah,
that
yeah,
game.
yeah. Guys have played that. I played it as well. I played it actually the first time I played it, funny enough, was when I was working with the military. I played it in a full wraparound dome. Like it's obviously a VR game, but I was in like a Hornet cockpit, and playing it like using that. And that was fucking awesome. That was my first introduction to VTOL VR. Was in like a sim pit, like a real sim pit, which is pretty cool. It's totally awesome game. We just we don't play it like as a group. I don't. Does it even have multiplayer? I'm not even
It
sure.
does.
Oh, nice. Okay, cool. Yeah, we haven't done that, but that's a great call out. We should try it.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, that game. It's not as in depth as BMS or DCS, but you will be surprised at the amount of depth that it has, considering the way it looks. Because a lot of people say it looks like a cartoon. It really does, but it's a blast to play.
Yeah,
Anyway,
the first time I played it, the guy who was like over my shoulder, I had the VR headset on. He was over my shoulder, and he's like, "All right, man, what do you do in a Viper to start it up?" I'm like, "Well, you got to start the APU." Then he's like, "All right, find the APU. It's on the left side somewhere." So I went down there, like did like I basically intuitively did a RAM start, and it's pretty fun. It has all the same concept, right? The game is pretty cool.
yep, yep, it's really great. It has a lot of potential. So uh, how would you like to say your training events are organized and flown in UOAF?
Like in terms of like how we run them and stuff, like what you're expected to see, or what you
No, I
expect to
mean
see from her.
I guess let me rephrase that. Do you guys have like a training program? Like trainees have to start here, go through this, and this, and then they are considered fully qualified,
No.
or is it like just open and more laid
Yes.
back?
No, it's super laid back. So we have a very low barrier of entry, right? So our barrier of entry is literally, can you get off the ground and fly in formation, and can you land? That's our barrier of entry. So that is what we test people on, is like, can you get airborne? We don't even test them, right? So they self volunteer that, okay, yes, I was in I did the, the Monday morning, or the Monday afternoon training, and I think I can get airborne now. There's no like training program, right? Because we're not a virtual fighter squadron per se. We're a like gaming community that plays Sims very seriously. So it's a different frame of reference. There's no like test or minimum training you need to do. It's just like, and it goes back to like that video that I posted, like the get your ass to fly concept. It's like, just get airborne. If you're scared, just turn around and land. But if you can do that, then you're good enough to fly with us.
Makes sense. So have you guys participated in events like Red Flag and other such PvP type events in the past?
Yeah, we have. So when they like we have participated in those events. I mean, they used to be pretty incredible. Like I haven't participated in one in a while, and it seems like they're sort of like dead now, from what I can tell. But like the massive TBT events were awesome, and we would show up in force, and have a blast. So yeah, I think some of those events are sort of mired by technical issues, and then they just sort of died out. It takes an incredible amount of coordination to make those events go, and it's very frustrating from an administrative point of view. So I get it.
Yeah, it was very popular during COVID 2020, 2021, where everybody had all the time in the world. There was a couple of very good TVT events, which is team versus team, where you have two sides are players, and when one side gets in the server, the other side usually catches wind of them getting in the server, and they either defend or they attack. So it's like a giant tug of war when it comes to people playing each other. But the TVT has died down a bit. Usually every new version of the sim, they're usually a TVT event. But as of recently, that hasn't happened in probably about 4 or 5 years now. But it's a very big event, and like you said, it takes a lot of work to get it going.
Yeah, I mean, I worked new talked to Archer quite a lot when he was running those, and like it's just incredibly frustrating to run them because there's so many technical issues that pop up, that it really becomes really frustrating. Like we've thought about running our own massive persistent TBT server as well, but you basically need 24/7 coverage by the team, and like we just we're all working and stuff, so it's hard to do that. So what we thought about doing as well was instead of having 24/7, have like an entire day, like maybe like okay, all of Saturday with like admin coverage, right? So turn the server on and off, but have it like turn on and off so you can cover it. But even that's a lot of work. And we do have TVT in some of our events. What we usually do is if we have really high player counts, like above like 30, we'll often have a few red 4 people where we use like a 5-to-1 ratio. So it'll be like 5 blue 4 for every 1 op 4. So it's not symmetrical, it's asymmetric. And we'll usually have the red 4 either play like they're either HVT or they're like a interception or something, just to keep the players on their feet. So we've done that before, and we've also done TVT for like meme events, like where we have to like nuke each other's bases and stuff. But that's more like a meming than it is like a serious event.
Yep. Yeah, there's been a couple. I was in. I think we did one. I think it was not really a meme, but it was kind of serious, where we had two sides. It was like 16 versus 16, and one side had to go. It was like years ago, and I was the GCI of it. So one side had to go and like do a touchdown / bomb a base, and the other side had to defend it.
Yeah.
And that was a huge thing where we did it twice because the first time it was like it was either super easy or it took forever, and then the next time both sides came together and like had more strategic
Yeah.
knowledge, and they made it a little bit more easier. So that was a fun time there.
That was event number 500. So we tend to do these like over the top, hilarious sort of things like that with when every 100 events, and that was event 500. It sounds like you participated in that. I missed
Yep.
that one, but it was a bloodbath of trying to like, and then you ruin your logbook as well because you're nuking all your friends and stuff.
Yeah,
But
exactly. That's
yeah,
fine.
got to back up the logbook before playing that one.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that was pretty fun. So they do have certain events that are PvP, player versus player, because it's always good to be able to have another human on the other side rather than just AI all the time. It's definitely a different aspect when it comes to skill level.
Yep, it'll raise your heart rate.
And then,
All right. So
go
yeah,
ahead.
go on, Brian.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna go on to the next question.
Yep.
So how is it like to how do you guys make missions? Is it like a one-off thing? Do you guys run organized campaigns with like a progression in the quote unquote storyline? Or how does that work for BMS specifically? I'm asking.
Yeah, so the mission making philosophy is let the dynamic campaign do its thing. So that's the first thing I'll say, right? So we try to do minimal edits to the actual campaigns, and the idea is, as I was saying before, every week someone else takes the frag. They try to think strategically about what needs to happen in the campaign, and then they make the mission. We generally don't do TEs. We'll do TEs for training and stuff, but we never run a TE on Saturday. And the focus is primarily on advancing the campaign, winning the campaign, but also fun, right? So, for example, it might be logical in the campaign to just like destroy, sort of like pigs in a barrel, just like blow up a bunch of defenseless tanks. That won't be fun for 30 people, so we'll generally just like speed up time, rather than have the entire event be that, unless it's like interesting in another way. Um, so yeah, and then we use the community tools to like fix the missions when they inevitably break due to technical issues, which is another fun aspect of running a campaign over the course of months. And then we'll at the end of the campaign we usually do like a poll, like we'll poll the community and say like, hey, what do you guys want to do next? What theater do you want? And then we roll it into the next one, or we make our own, right? So we just made our own theater. It's a fork of the other 80s KTO. We made our own version of that, and now that's what we're flying right now. We just started it 3 events ago, and it's pretty hardcore.
You want to tell us a bit more about that theater you guys cooked together?
Yeah,
Well, you
sure.
guys picked up?
So it was mostly a labor of love of 2 roster members, Fritz and Batman. So they had previously created another theater called Coastal Front, which is based in the Baltics region, and this was for 437, and that was as much as we can make it a realistic recreation of various 80s Cold War gone hot scenarios. Very high quality theater. We played the shit out of it in 437. We couldn't translate that to 438, so these guys, we were in between campaigns. Like we just finished our first KTO campaign, and we wanted to do another one. So what do we do? Do we go to Balkans? Do we go to another theater that's out there? And we decide, okay, let's make another 80s theater. Let's take the existing KTO 80s and let's fork that and do a bunch of work to make it more realistic. So they did the same thing. I contributed a little bit, but it was mostly Fritz and Batman who led that. And what we would do is like they would develop like a version, like a release candidate, and then we'd use the Friday night flights to basically beta test that. We did that like 5 or 6 times, and then we rolled it out a couple events ago.
So, with all these new theaters, I know some of our DCS listeners might not understand that these theaters are actually free, and you don't have to pay for any of the theaters. You just have to download it, make sure everybody has the same version, and you just download it to your computer, and then you choose which theater you want on in Falcon BMS, and then you run it with the server. So yeah, all these theaters we're talking about is just completely free. Just download it off of the forums or websites.
You got to send me some Bitcoin, but other than that, it's totally free.
Yeah. Other than that, it's free with
yeah.
the mandatory donation.
To me personally.
Yeah,
and I think
pygmy in the mail, please.
there you go. And I think another thing that people might want to know is that our community, as a general rule, is a massive content creation community. Other than just the flight sim stuff that we do and the gaming, we're also creators. And I just alluded to it, so maybe I can talk a little bit more about it. A lot of our community contributions are now mainstream in BMS. So like 80s ITO, which is now in the ITO baseline, was originally created by UOAF members, and now it's part of the official theater there. And then, the things like the lobby system that's now in BMS, dedicated servers, VR improvements, those also came from our team, and then we're put into BMS. We have our own GitHub organization with dozens of people contributing to it. We have, Open Radar, which is basically a AWACS and GCI simulator that we use in our events, and it's freely available on GitHub. We're making like an IBC stand-in called Open Freak that is currently in development and will be out relatively soon. And as I said, we've made numerous theaters, right? So the recent one was KTO 80s, but we made an original 80s theater. Before we've done Gulf War, and yeah, we've had a lot of development there. We've also created like utilities, right? So we have a utility that will reduce TAC view file sizes, bring them down, and streamline them, fix weather files. And for the DCS listeners, you probably are familiar with like these strategy game overlays that are very common now in DCS. That originated from a UAF project called Project Tauntaun, which was the first sort of layer like web interface where you could like move units around and issue flights and stuff like that. That was all that originated from UAF developments, and then it was forked out and further developed. Last thing I would say is like we're obsessed with like memes and stuff. So we have like a bot that we created that plays clips from History Channel's dogfights, um, and we contribute to that as well. And lastly, we even created our own like tabletop RPG. So one of our former officers, who was leading the squadron while I was taking a bit of a sabbatical, his name is Gussie. He created a tabletop like D&D style game called Fox One, which is like heavily infested and inspired by 80s and 90s memes. So all of this stuff we tend to like share with the community, and it's been pretty fun.
That's great.
That's what I'm personally proud of quite a lot.
Yeah, that's great. The BMS community helping DCS, DCS helping BMS, and everybody's cause that's what happens when you have a giant server of 30-something people. You want it to be better, and whatever you improve usually gets shared across the community.
Yeah, and then I think the other thing is like a lot of our people in the roster, we're technical people, right? Or we're developers. So, for example, I don't want to name drop people, but I would say at least 25% or 30% of the roster members are professional software developers. And that's useful because when you get a bunch of nerds together, they tend to make stuff,
Yeah, exactly.
And because we have a variety of nerds together, we can make anything. And that it's been fun to create stuff for the community and then just publish it,
Yep.
for free.
Would you like to? You mentioned that AWACS tools. Would you like to tell us more about that? That might be for people in groups that are maybe not aware of that tool. They might be interested in it.
Yeah, sure. So It's called Open Radar. So this is the brainchild of two of our roster members. The main developer, his name is Breland. And then there's also been a lot of contribution from Abalian, who's another roster member. And there's been a bunch of contributors, but those are the two main contributors. And the use case is like the way you used to do human AWACS back in the day. And the idea was like, okay, we had to have a player that sort of has like a god's eye view of what's going on and can help vector groups and call out threats and stuff. The way we would do that back in the day is you would just go in the 2D in BMS, and you would just hold down F1 key and just talk on the strike net or talk on guard, right? That's the way we would do it back in the day. What Open Radar does is it's a full simulation of an AWACS, and it's very performant and it's free, and then it's continuously developed, right? So you load that thing up, it connects to BMS, it reads various things, and then one of the players will be an AWACS, and sometimes we'll have events that are so large, we'll have multiple human AWACS players in the same package. So like we've had events with like 35 people. We'll have, okay, this box here is controlled by this controller. This other box here is controlled by this controller. And when you go to check in, you're talking to an actual guy simulating an AWACS operator, like an air battle manager. You're not talking to the robot, right? To the AI. So it's pretty useful. Gives good situational awareness, and it's superior, I think, to a lot of what's out there as alternatives.
Yeah, it's very good, and especially when you have a human there to think logically about what needs to be said without having to be said to say it. So if you have people running away, like if a whole flight cold running away from the threat, and they're just like in burner running away, it would be logical to say how far away they are at certain points in time, or if they're closing. So you'd be like, I don't know, Falcon 1 threat east, which would be behind them, threat east about 30 miles and closing. AI wouldn't say closing; it would just say how far it is, and it's like, okay, well, is he closing or not? Like that's the fidelity of a human to be able to tell you things in GCI and AWACS.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And the other thing is like, over the past, I would say 2 or 3 years, we've had a group within UOAF that's become very focused on timelines and very focused on BVR comm and effective BVR. Um, you know, there's different like groups within our community that are like specialists, right? So my specialty is seed and deed. Like that's what I'm the best at, and that's what I bring to the table. I'm not a timeline expert, and I'm not an expert in air-to-air shit. I'm just not. I mean, I'm okay, right? I'm proficient, but that's not what I specialize in. And what's been interesting is since we have this sort of center of excellence or focus on leveling up that area, um, it's not only what you were saying, Prime, which is true. Like it does help with amplifying comms and providing context, but it's also leveled up the intensity and the realism of our air-to-air comms, right? Like if you listen to our air-to-air comms, it sounds exactly like real red flag. Like if you go to Google and type in red flag recordings and then you listen to the UOAF recordings, you cannot tell the difference. They're using the exact comm. They're using timelines they're building off of, and they're building those timelines off of operational experience. So it's been really interesting for me to see because I never personally was interested in that area, but it's been cool to see the community level up because now we have some like real experts in that field, and then it's been helped by this tool that we were talking about, Open Radar.
Oh yeah, it's great, and that's another thing people can be afraid of where they're talking to someone because most of us know, and if you ever did private pilot's license or anything about aviation, when you press the button to talk over the radio, it literally shuts off your brain. So that's something that people need to get
Yeah.
used to be able to. It's a push to talk, not push to think. So you need to know what you're going to say before you're going to press it. And usually, if you're not used to talking over the radio and talking to someone else, you could really get some brain farts and not words don't come out of your mouth when you're pressing the button.
Yeah, and also imagine that while there's a spiking MiG-29 that's a front aspect about to shoot you, right? So you have to
Exactly.
really you have to really calm down and think about what you're going to say before you key up. And
Exactly.
then if there's 30 other people fighting in the area, which is our case, every other comm is I'm targeting this guy, I'm targeting that guy, Fox on this guy, timeout on this guy. It's a lot of comms because you're dealing with dozens of bandits at once, you know. Um, and the scale of these events is only getting bigger and bigger, which has been really exciting for me to see. Because when I started doing this, there was like 10 of us in the events. Like our official events had like 10 players.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's been exciting to see like this massive scale.
And speaking of the massive scale and that people are most people are in the 16, but there's a huge scale of people, and the 16 has its own uh, things that it does best: air to ground, air to air. But recently we've had the F-15, which is specifically for air to air. In the mission that you have on Saturdays with the UAF, is there slots for 15s as well, and they're usually the air to air type of regime?
Yeah, so this has been the most interesting thing. So you know that air-to-air mafia I was talking about before? These guys are obsessed with timelines and air-to-air comm stuff.
Yes.
This group are guys that fly Eagles. So the interesting thing is like the
That's not
old
surprising considering how you
Yeah, it
described them.
makes sense.
yeah. So there's a group that is very focused on flying Eagles, just even more than the guys who are Viper guys. And the thing is, like, I don't ever fly the Eagle. I'm like I said, my preferred mission 99.9% of the time is have me kill a SAM site. I'm a deed guy. But there's a whole other subsection now of UAF that these guys are they're cocky F-15 guys. That's the way I would describe it. And it's not helped by the fact that there's actual Eagle pilots that are part of the squadron. So it's like this thing where they're all leveling each other up and challenging each other to get better and better. The debriefs are very technical, and I don't say that to scare anyone off because, as I said, anyone can fly with us. There's no barrier of entry. But the Eagle guys really like to debrief. Okay, you should have shot at this point because that's when door was. It's like they construct timelines and they keep to them and they critique like micro things like, oh, you should have turned out 1 second earlier because your missile had already gone active at that point or whatever, or you're already past this part of the timeline. I find it sort of funny. I mean, it's cool. It's really exciting. And like I said, it's exciting to see the community level up in the same way that Deed was like our main focus before, and that's where we really had a lot of specialism. But yeah, they all fly Eagles. And I'm glad that the Eagle is in BMS now and that it's part of the overall community because it adds so much to the events. Having Eagle guys flying high and just pouncing on people and shooting slammers from like 50 miles away or whatever is very exciting. And it adds a lot of drama to the campaign in a fun way.
It is very exciting. I've been flying with those guys as well with the Eagles, who are specifically on Eagles, and they do the timelines and everything. Like it's great stuff. And if you don't understand it at first, you'll understand it eventually. And even if you don't understand it to the level of detail that they understand it, at least you'll have more knowledge of it and be able to apply that when you're not with them, but when you're out and about doing other things. But you can still apply that knowledge in other aspects because it can get you out of trouble really quickly as long as you adhere to the timeline and turning out when you're supposed to.
Yeah, so what you're describing is basically me, right? So that's been my experience is I just learn from those guys. Like I know everyone there's like this idea that I'm like like a flight sim god or some shit, but I'm not. Like I said, my specialty is indeed I am not an air-to-air expert. I'm like a 5 out of 10 I would rate myself. And just listening to those guys do their debriefs has been super um
Eye
it
opening.
helps it's helped me get a lot better. Yeah, it
Yep.
helped me get a lot better. And like now I have like a little Miro board that I use to construct my own timelines where I can like slide the different events in the timeline up and down, and I use that to do air-to-air briefings, and it's been pretty cool. It's been fun to learn that.
Yep. It's always good to have it because you always good to have it because you never know when you'll need it.
Exactly.
So, what about a couple of interesting stories that you have in your decades of UOF? Do you have any interesting stories you want to talk about? Top one or top two?
Oh man, that's tough. It's hard for me to describe other people's stories. Um, I mean, there's been some really funny shit that has happened. I mean, that's the thing, right? Is like, the things that pop out of my mind are funny things, and it's also, I would say, these events that have been really intense have also like remained vivid in my mind. Um, I mean, man, the most stories. I was like, what sort of stories do we mean? Like things that have happened in the squadron that were like the meta in the squadron, or you mean during the actual events?
Like
I'm just thinking.
missions or debrief or I don't know, maybe someone shot down 4 of his flight members. I don't know, something, anything.
Okay. Yeah, so I mean, and by the way, I can provide links to all this, but I think one of the funniest things that happened that I remember, and it was like it's been an iconic sort of thing in UOAF history, is we were flying 80s ITO, which was a theater that we made, and we're going downtown to like Cairo. We're flying IF. We're going downtown to Cairo, and there's like a million SAMs, massive IADs, and all this stuff. And one of our guys is in, and he's trying to attack this site. And we didn't exactly know where the SAMs were, but we knew they were out there. And he starts rolling in, and it's basically what happens. I don't know if you've ever seen that like stroke 3, stroke 4, whatever.
Oh yeah,
video.
SAMs, yep.
Yeah, but basically that
Yep.
happened, but during the event, and this guy's dodging dozens of SA2s and SA3s. I mean, he's just like he got ambushed. So there's all these SAMs coming up. He's dodging left and right, and he's screaming for his wingman to fire harms, or actually shrikes, because they didn't have arms then, to fire shrikes to help him. And in the debrief, what we saw is that his wingman turned left 90 degrees and just fired 2 arms into like the middle of the desert. So he was completely tumbleweed, had no
Yep,
idea.
no idea which way to go. Yep.
Yeah, he had no idea where his lead was, but he said he had fired at them, and then we only saw in the debrief that like he basically had fired into a random desert. And there's a video of it, and I almost blacked out from laughing. Like we all did. It was
Oh,
like
man.
it was like 15 minutes of laughter, because it was the way that the guy was debriefing it. He's like, I almost died. I had all these SAMs fired at me. It's fucking crazy. And then you go to watch this. You watch the TAC view, because I used to record the TAC views and post them onto my channel. And it's just, the guy was completely tumbleweed. But we love him for it. He's amazing. He still flies with us.
Yeah, if you do something wrong, it gets, you like roll the tape. It's like, all right, let's see it. And everybody's like, oh, I don't want to talk about it. Let's just not talk about that. Let's just go somewhere else.
It was, I think one good thing about our group is like we're very humble, and we try to, there isn't a lot of people that get bristled by stuff like that. And there's this like open self-criticism culture of like, or self-admittance that you can improve, including myself. So I think when it happened, it was more funny than it was like embarrassing for the guy. But it was fucking hilarious. I think another thing that comes to mind is I referred back to this role-playing game that was made by this guy Gussie in our squadron. Playing that, it was pretty iconic for me personally, because we were essentially playing D&D, but role-playing as ourselves in BMS, but through like 80s and 90s memes. I'll post a video of it online, or I'll give you guys a link or whatever. But it was hilarious. It was like one of those things where this guy created an entire game system to basically play BMS, but in a role-playing pen and paper like game. And then all of our characters were like memes from like the 80s and 90s. It was so much fun, and we played, I don't know, maybe 7 or 8 sessions. Each session was like 5 or 6 hours, so it was like quite a time investment. A lot of fun. And then I think the other, I mean, there's so many like just events that when you fly with so many guys, and the culture is like this. I mean, this is another thing that comes to mind, which is just it's I don't know why it's popping into my head, and maybe it's a bit gross or whatever. But I remember one time we were egressing. It was a long egress, because we had to go up to China to bomb some. We had to bomb some airbase in China. It was like a 2-hour egress or whatever, hour and a half egress or whatever. And this guy says, "All right, guys, I'll be right back." And then his friend came on to the comms and was like, "Yeah, how do I fly? I'm just trying to fly straight." And it turned out that this guy had to take a shit so bad
Oh.
that he got his friend to take over.
Take over
and
for
then he
longer.
ran to take a shit and then came back in the middle of the egress, which I thought that's true dedication.
Oh, yeah.
I love it.
Gotta go.
That's commitment to the mission. Yeah, gotta go, but
Gotta go.
I won't leave you guys hanging.
When you gotta go, you gotta go. And then I think like from a serious point of view, like or more serious things that are memorable is where we've done like these really, really impossibly complicated packages. So I mean, like, for example, the day 1 bear trap missions are incredibly challenging, or the Balkans
Dragon
missions where you're flying as like Bosnia and you're
yeah.
Block 25s. You have to plan like exact you have to fly exactly to the TOTs. If you fuck up your TOT, you're gonna get schwacked. So it requires like everyone to be synchronized. You have to think about, okay, I'm behind on my TOT, so I need to burn up, and then you have like a 3-second window to fire a harm so that the other flight can loft the CBU over a hill and like hit a radar or something.
Yep.
Those sort of events are like the whole time I'm having like a heart attack, right? Because as I said, I'm a deed guy, so I'm always down in the weeds or getting shot at or whatever by a SAM. And um, when those missions are planned out and they are executed well, it's extremely rewarding. And it's a type of thing that I think most of my friends, like who are not from the simming community, they don't understand the gratification that you feel when you have 30 people synchronized working so well together who are complete strangers, right? So we're all from different parts of the world, and we're like one machine that's all working together to accomplish the mission, especially in a very high risk environment with multiple overlapping WESs and bandits and stuff, is intense and super rewarding.
Yeah, that reminds me of, I think it was with you. You were the deed on the ground, nap of the earth, flying over a hill, dropping CBUs. But it was years ago. It was like maybe 3 years ago now. But we were the seed flight, so we had the harms, and you specifically said we need to have harms go out every 15-20 seconds. A harm needs to be out. So we have 4 people in the seed flight, so that gives us like 8 harms. So we get 20 seconds per harm. It gives us a couple minutes of time for you to go out and be exposed in that area. So I remember you specifically saying we need a harm every 15, 20 seconds or even less to give them a space where harms are in the air. If it wants to come on, if the SAM wants to come on, then there'll be harms in the air. If it wants to stay off, then that's perfect because there's no danger for us. But we were going against the SA-17, so that was really hard because the SA-17 takes out harms. So we're just trying to overwhelm the SAM site with harms while you're down there trying to get the CBUs on target from a couple miles from the SA-17.
Yeah, those are the sort of missions that are extremely fun. And I think, it goes back to what I was saying, like the air-to-air mafia guys that we have now who are flying Eagles. They've been evolving the tactics and leveling up the tactics in the squadron when it comes to air-to-air. And it's interesting to think about what you said because there's been a continuous evolution of deed tactics throughout the years to the point where we are basically a laboratory that learns things, right? So that continuous suppression model followed by a kinetic attack was common back then. And what's been really interesting is to see how that's evolved over time based upon learnings in the same way that a real sort of squadron would learn things. And that's sort of the mission. Those are the sort of missions that really stick out to me personally. And I wish I had more guys from the group here because I'm sure they would have other stories. But it's ones where, for example, your flight is suppressing a 17, and if you don't do it correctly, and if you don't do it on the right TOT, we die, which means that the strikers who are going in to hit the airbase, they die, which means, it's like a cascade of issues. And I think you can only succeed in missions like that if you have a lot of trust with each other and really decentralize control and let everyone sort of come up with their best plan and then execute on it.
Yeah, lots of moving parts, and if one of those moving parts does not go right, everything else falls apart. And then before all the attacking stuff, you need to make sure the air picture is clear. So the F-15s or 16s in that sense needs to make sure the air picture is clear, and God forbid there be any scramblers at the base that you're actually attacking. So it's just so many different dynamics in that mission there.
Yeah, and I think one other thing is like, at least the way we fly, and this is a sort of unique thing, is like, and it goes back to what I was saying before, is we try to avoid like this concept of like the guy in control like micromanages everything or decides everything, and a lot of the most memorable things that have happened is when the shit does go off the rails. Like basically what you're saying does happen, where the TOT window is missed, or the plan goes wrong, and then the most interesting thing that happens is when 2 flight leads, or maybe even 1 flight lead, they have a quick conversation and they just change it on the fly based on their experience, and then they just roll in. And that is super fun too, right? So it's like, hey man, our escort just got schwacked by a SA-10, but there's a little window here where if we push in, I know I'm fragged to be a deed, but I'll go in there. I'll sweep the airbase. You go in, loft your JDAMs on the runway, and then we're getting out of there. Are you ready to go? Oh yeah, I'm ready to go. My guys are good. And then you just fucking burn and do it. Those sort of like ad hoc additions to a plan are also like stick out of my mind, right? There's a bit of like an adrenaline junkie aspect there.
Yeah, definitely different aspects or different missions. Even sometimes we do a plan A and a plan B, and sometimes there's a plan C that we have to literally brief during flight to be able to do it. And maybe have a chance to actually get the job done there.
Yeah, man. It's the chaos of, I think one of the most, the biggest pull of BMS is that unknown chaos element, the effect of being in a war and you don't exactly know what's going to happen. And that's why I like what I was saying before. When it comes to our fragging philosophy, we try to avoid manipulating the frag, like Matt. Sorry, I mean like editing the frag with authorship, or try to make a story. I
Yep.
think that was something that you guys were asking about before. Is like, do we try to create a story? The answer is no. We try to let like a natural story unfold, and sometimes you'll start rolling on the runway, and then you'll get like a sudden strike on the airbase, and it changes the whole
Yep, everything
thing that you
changes.
have planned.
Can't do anything. We have to scramble to drop your bombs and protect the airbase.
Yeah. Just yesterday, we were doing a mission where I was supposed to go ahead and escort a BAI flight to the plot, and they were supposed to help these troops in contact. And we had briefed multiple fallback points. And when we get to the plot, there's like 25 bandits versus my four ship, and the entire plan went out the window. And it's like, but we didn't know that that was going to happen
Yep.
until we got there. So it was like craziness, furball, everyone died. I survived, and my number 4 survived. Everyone else died. That's what makes BMS interesting.
Yep,
Go ahead.
definitely the unpredictability. Yeah,
Oh yeah.
absolutely. There's a lot of we all have those types of stories where okay, we were supposed to be doing this, and then we got there and we
All out
ended
the
up
window.
doing a bunch of air to air because red wall. So figure that one out, and no one intervened in that. Just the dynamic campaign doing its thing.
Yep. Good fun.
So with the missions that happen every Saturday, for someone who wants to fly in these missions, I know in the description below we have full missions of UAF missions on Saturdays, so you can see what the actual span is. So it goes through the briefing first, and then the mission, and then the debriefing. For people to kind of get ready for a UAF mission, what are kind of some good tips for them to get ready for BMS multiplayer in general in this case? But what are kind of your recommendation for them to look at and do?
Yeah, so I'm going to give you like an abbreviated TLDR version of my iconic "Get Your Ass to Fly" video. You shouldn't do anything; just join us. That's what I would say in short. You cannot train yourself on your own to be effective in a flight sim. So you can't develop the situational awareness. You can't develop the communication skills. You can't develop the battle hardened experience. You're not going to get that offline, right? So what I recommend is just show up. Make sure your like key bindings are set up, and we can help you with that if you don't know how to do that. We can help you set up your. We can even recommend like a HOTUS for you to buy, like a cheap one that you can get into it. You can even use like a webcam to use face tracking, so you don't have to buy a head tracking device. Just try that out. Minimum commitment is probably like €100, $100, something like that. Get in there and just try it. And join us. Like as soon as your controls are bound, join the Monday events, the Monday training events. Join the Friday events. Once you feel comfortable and you can get airborne, stay in formation, start joining the Saturday events. It's that simple.
Yep, it is pretty. And even if you don't want to fly, you can always just listen. So you can listen to see what they're doing,
Yeah.
how the briefing goes, what to get used to. At a certain kind of point in time, you'll learn to be there early, so you can get everything set up. It's like a I'm not making it like a high level top tier thing, but it's almost like a test. Like if you're gonna take a test, you want to be ready for it. You want to know what to do before you get there, so you can look at the briefing beforehand. Because usually the briefings they come out, they try to do it like at least by the Wednesday midweek. The briefing usually comes out by Wednesday. Sometimes on Monday, but usually at least by Wednesday. the briefings and sign up sheet comes out where you can sign up exactly what flight you want to be in, what aircraft you want to be in, and it goes over in the briefing. If you open it up, it's a slideshow, goes over everything in there, what this flight does, what that flight does, the timing, the weather, like all that stuff. So you can literally get the briefing a couple days in advance, and then you could actually practice that in BMS if you want. If you haven't used your harms in a while, you could practice that for a little bit. So it's just like you have to get ready for the mission. Getting there early and actually getting ready for the mission helps out a lot with learning as well.
Yeah, and I think one of the things is like we always have slots that are quote unquote easy. So for example, there's often a package where you have like 2 deed flights, an escort, a bar cap, and then like the Oka strike, right? And Oka strikes in a modern setting are typically very easy, right? So like there's exceptions to that, and you know you might have a very highly permissive environment where you have to like go in a very specific location or attack angle or an exact TOT. But generally speaking, strike missions and BAI missions are quote unquote easy and forgiving. And you can just show up, slot into one of those. I wouldn't recommend, for example, that you slot into a deed flight against an SA-17 if you're new to BMS. That's
Yeah.
like a way
Yep.
to like be shot
Yep.
out of the sky. But when it comes to what we have available, you can either take like a number 4 in like a strike or in a bar cap or something. Those generally are easy to get into. And then again, as long like our bar, I said it before, but I'll just reiterate, our bar is can you fly in formation and can you land? So and can you like talk on the radio, right? So you have to get airborne. If you start to get scared and you're like, I don't know what's happening. Oh God, I don't know. Just turn away and just fly towards tier 1. Um, if you don't know how to fly towards tier 1, just turn away. Wait for your flight to deal with whatever the threats are, and then come up on the radio and say I'm lost, I need help or whatever. But that's about the extent of what we expect of people who are flying with us. And I know it's a very low bar, but it is true, right? Like we don't judge people by how amazingly awesome they are. It's just like, and I like what you're saying, Prime. Like it is a good thing to like read briefings, get up to speed on whatever system you're going to use. But I would say that for most people, just pick a slot that you know is like you can manage, and then just show up. Sign up, show up, fly. You're gonna suck if you're new to BMS. You're gonna suck for many years. You'll probably suck for at least 2 years before you're like good, good enough to like handle yourself, which is fine, right? So when you feel that imposter syndrome coming on and you're like, oh God, I don't know what's happening. I suck. I need to leave. It's like, no, don't leave. Just keep coming. You're gonna be bad for multiple years. It takes like I said, it takes 10 years to really develop really good SA. Basic SA is like 2 years, 3 years, you start to get basic SA. 5, 6 years, you're talking about like, okay, you're starting to really understand what's going on. It's similar to being a fighter pilot, right? In reality, like those guys takes them a long time to ramp up their SA because you're building a world in your head. So I would say just like come, fly, join the debrief, learn what happened, especially pay attention to what happened to other people, right? So if people died or they made mistakes, listen to what they're learning from and then try to learn from that, but at least learn from your own mistakes and then come back. And because we're a no blame culture and community, like no one gives a shit. Even if you frat kill someone, which is the worst thing you can do.
Yeah.
We don't like rake over the coals. We try to debrief what went wrong, how did it happen. Frat killing is the worst thing you can do because you literally are ruining someone else's event. But we still accept it as okay. This happens for new guys, and it's okay as long as you learn from it. It's fine.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing. Yeah, blue on blue, shooting your wingman is literally the worst thing you can do in BMS because, like you said, it ruins the other person. They can't respawn. God forbid it be before anything happens at takeoff and you kill them. It's like, why'd you do that? And then now they just can't play anymore. So it's literally over for them. So that's the worst thing you could do. But as you said, with being able to learn from it, as long as you learn from it, as long as it doesn't happen often, so don't do it every single time because then you'll probably start saying maybe you need some more training because it's not okay to be able to keep shooting people down. But if it happens once in a blue moon, then I mean that's fine. But at a certain point, there's a point in time where it's like, can you please stop shooting your wingman and please learn from the debrief and like do a little bit more IFF, do some, we have Link 16 now, so it's literally no excuse anymore. You have the declaration of AWACS, so I mean it's getting a lot better, because before we had some really bad times with that, but with 80s, like you said, with 80s, there's no IFF, there's no Link 16, so it's definitely a little bit more SA building, and some, I guess maybe a little bit more leeway with shooting down friendlies, but at that point it's more of a within visual range type of thing for 80s with the AIM-9s.
Yeah, and what I will say is like, you know, we have a guy in our squadron right now, and I'm definitely not going to name him, but he was the meme about him was that he would kill everyone in events, like he was a frat kill lord, like he would just frat kill every event. That dude is now a member of our squadron, right? So he's a equal member of our roster. There's no judgment against him. He, you know, like we don't look down on him or anything. So people have a journey when they join flight, when they start to get into flight sims. Some people's brains take to it better and they're able to ramp up quickly. Other people, it's a long journey, and that's okay, right? So it took me a long time to get good. And the biggest thing I would underline is just turn around. I say this in the Get Your Ass to Fly video, but it's so simple. Just turn the jet away from whatever's scaring you. Just literally make a right, make a left, just go away. And then just fly in a direction that's you think is safe. And if it's not safe, turn and go the other direction. And if you can do that, then you can fly with us.
Yep. And as long as you learn about it, because that person learned that not to do that anymore, and he's now a part of the community as a fragger of different missions. And for the missions, do you have any other collaboration with other groups? So do you ever bring other groups in and have them be on the roster and stuff?
So in terms of joining the roster, that is an interesting topic. So the way that you join the roster is you have to be nominated by someone in the roster, and then you have to get a unanimous vote. And one of the few hard power lines I have as the leader is I can veto those votes. I've never done it before, but I can technically veto the vote if I'm not aligned. But you don't need to be in the roster to fly with us, right? So roster is like the full patched members, the people who are basically part of the squadron, so to speak. But anyone, literally anyone, can fly with us at any time. And the roster folks don't have any rank on you, so to speak. So we tend to run the events, but it's first come first serve. The roster doesn't get preference on slotting. They don't get preference on positions. If you are a person who's listening right now, you can sign up for the Saturday event and be the package commander. There's nothing stopping you from doing that. You can lead flights. So yeah, in terms of like collaborations with other communities, we tend to cross post our events into other communities. They're all free to join. Sometimes we'll have an entire VFW join one of our events. Like they'll just show up, 10 of them or whatever. And that's always really fun, right? Especially if we can task organize them into part of the package where they're doing a specific thing. That's sort of fun too. But then it feels like we almost have two events going at once, and then we can debrief together, which is sort of cool.
Oh yeah, huge numbers.
So that's happened a couple times. Yeah. And look, we're big on cross community, cross pollination, I would say. So as I said, we cross post everywhere, but then we also invite everyone to join us. And the other thing is I didn't say this before, but this is a key point. We have no rules about you can only be in UOAF, or you can only even if you're roster, you can only be in UOAF. We don't have any membership requirements or gatekeeping, so you can be in another VFW and you can join us either in the roster or to fly in events, and then you can just leave at any time, and we also don't care about that. So it's more of think of it like a pickup game, but much more organized and structured. That's the way I think about it.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the UOAF Discord right now. They're actually doing DCS type of thing, and could everyone kind of assume that DCS is about the same when it comes to commitment, training, and signing up for a mission? It's kind of open to everybody. They share it on their thing, and it's kind of the same type of thing when it comes to BMS missions.
Yeah, so the principles and values that I've been talking about, they're community wide. So the DCS has the exact same values. They just have a different tactical flow due to how the game is different,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
it's the
yeah.
same principle. Like anyone can join, anyone can participate. We even allow anyone to like you could also make missions and fly them here, or you could even run your own events here as well. So that's also on like one of some of our most some of our roster members that we have were guys who were volunteers who came from the community. They were volunteering to run events, and that often gets you noticed by us, and then we tend to nominate you, which you'll never know until you get a message from one of us saying you've been unanimously voted in to join the roster. Do you want to join us? Right? So there's no way you would know that until you get the message from us, but that's sort of how that works.
Awesome, awesome. Thanks. Yeah, wanting to get into DCS as well because it's definitely fun, dynamic, and I have a couple modules that I want to get into with DCS. But good to know that UAF has a home for DCS players to be able to play when they want to play.
Yeah, DCS is cool, and I think if another really good sim ever comes out, we'd probably play that as well. Or even if like another military sim came out, like if a new Steel Beast style game comes out, we'd probably play that as well. So the general theme is like we like flight sims, but we also play other sims.
Yep, and coming up on the end time here, gonna do some quick little on the spot questions, kind of. So Krause, so with all of the knowledge you know now, what would you change about you learning BMS if you were to start over playing BMS?
If I was to start over, what would I change?
Yeah, what would you learn differently? Would you do different things? Would you not make videos? Would
Yeah.
you like what is the
Okay.
what would be kind of the thing there?
So I didn't have head tracking for like 4 years,
Oh,
or maybe 3 years. That was incredibly stupid. Now I will say this: I was a poor. Was I in college when I started, or was I high school? It was either college or high school. I had no money. All right, I'm like a poor kid. I'm like sort of from the hood. I didn't have any money, so I had a Logitech 3D Pro joystick that I used for everything. I used the hat switch to move my head around. I probably should have done like a side gig to get head tracking because it is a game changer. You basically, I would say it's required. And the good thing nowadays for the youngins listening is, like I said, you don't even need to buy head tracking. You can just use a webcam. Like there's really good AI based face tracking that is almost as good as a Deland clip or a Track IR. So I would say that's the biggest thing. Um, Other than that, I mean, it was pretty cool, like the way that I learned because it was progressive, it was social. Um, it was good. But nowadays also like there's tutorials everywhere. When I joined there was no tutorials. So I would say like if you were new nowadays, if you're a newcomer and you're getting into the community now, just like watch the tutorials that are out there. They're amazingly high quality. Don't watch mine. They're terrible. Watch the ones that have been made over the past like 3 or 4 years. Get a cheap HOTUS and use a webcam for face tracking and get after it.
yep, good advice, great advice. Because yes, some people don't have the money for it, and like you said, there's videos all over the place now. I know some people don't like to watch videos, and other people don't like to read, and then we put there's this like weird wedge that we put in. They don't want to read, they don't want to watch videos, so they'll never learn. But the best way to learn is with another person. But everyone might not have that time and that time to teach someone one on one. So it is definitely the person's job to learn videos or reading the manual if they want to learn something.
But that being said, like if I use myself as an example, I don't do well from I do well from reading, but not for Sims, right? Like so I'm a voracious reader professionally and for my own entertainment and stuff. But when it comes to this art, I didn't I only refer to the manuals when I like nowadays when I want to look up something very specific. Like what's the harm code for this particular radar? I'll look in the manual. But when it comes to like learning, I didn't use the manual and I only learned through multiplayer. Right. And that's the thing that I try to emphasize is like just get into multiplayer because you can read the entire manual, you can watch all these tutorials. You're never going to really be able to apply that stuff until you get out there and feel that fear and overcome the fear. It's pretty challenging. And a lot of people churn out of the community and they can't they don't keep it up because it's very embarrassing, right? You're like you get in there and you're like, I have no idea what's going on. And you have to, there's this little voice in your head that says, I am a failure. I am a piece of shit. I shouldn't be here. You just have to ignore that and just push. And most people can't do it because they don't want to admit it. So it's like this, it is like a mind game thing, I think. It's deep stuff. Like, most people don't think about this stuff, but I think like there is a voice in most people's head that says like you're an imposter, you suck at this, and those people quit. So I'd recommend if you can get over that, just try to fly with us, and you'll learn it eventually, whether it's through tutorials or through multiplayer.
You mentioned earlier that a useful tool is watching tutorials, but there's a section of our community which unfortunately feels that well, some people do. I've seen this. I've read this. I'm sure you have as well. Who think that if you learn watching a video and if you don't read the manual, you are learning it wrong. What is your perspective on this?
Yeah, well, that's the meme about me, right? So if you were to ask some people, who's this Krause guy? Oh, this guy's a clown. He just like makes these videos. They're wrong technically. Cool. That's my response. Like I'm just trying to have fun, and yeah, the tutorials are not ever going to be as detailed as a flight manual because the flight manuals are hundreds of pages. But through lived experience, you often will exceed the skills of those who only read. So like the people that who fly with us are extremely skilled. Like in fact, like 3 of us have become combat aviators, like in real life. Like they're now in the Air Force or the Navy or whatever. So like there is that ramp there. So as long as you learn the experience, as long as you get after it, you'll gain the experience, and then it all follows from there.
Good advice. Good advice. So with the interview coming to a close, I want to thank you for giving the time to interview with us and to ask or answer questions and give your thoughts on the BMS community and training and all of that, and especially explaining what the UOAF is about, because that is a big pinnacle in the BMS community with 30 plus players flying every Saturday, depending on night or morning, depending where you are on the planet. I do want to appreciate it.
Appreciate it, man. I really appreciate. It's been a fun conversation, and I appreciate you being interested in the community. It's always fun. So thank you so much for your time.
Yep. And any other last word there, Fiscus?
No, none for me. Really, really happy we got to talk with Krause and Stevie before. It was nice learning about the background behind UOAF. Since they've been around for so long, and Krause being a member of the community for so long, and helping a bunch of us out, myself included,
Indeed.
when on our journey through BMS. And yeah, just want to thank you, Krause and Stevie, for coming along, and thanks to the listeners for checking out another episode, and hopefully catch you guys next time.
Thank you, guys. Really appreciate it.
Yep.
Have a
Thanks.
nice weekend.
And I'll see you.
Cheers. Bye.